Isaiah chapter 53. Who hath believed our report? And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire in him. So who hath believed our report? It immediately makes me think of this song when I was growing up, and the song people in the choir from the church that I would go to, they would say, "Whose report shall you believe?" And then the people would answer back, "We shall believe the report of the Lord." And then whose report shall you believe? Shall we believe? I think that was it. Whose report shall we believe? We shall believe the report of the Lord. And then, so immediately it says, "Who hath believed our report?" And so my mind goes, we shall believe the report of the Lord. But I think ultimately the question is, who has faith, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? So here God is desiring to show his strength, what he wants to do, and what he is going to do, what he will do. He said, "And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?" Then in Isaiah he starts to prophesy. He says, "For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant." For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. So when I read, "He shall grow up before him as a tender plant," I immediately think about my kids and how they're growing up, and things like how hungry everybody is, and that's a tender spot for me because my kids are little plants, and it's like they're growing up and they need certain things in order to grow. And for he shall grow up before him as a tender plant. That immediately makes me think of a child growing and my own children. But here we're receiving the message, the report of how that Christ, the Messiah, Yeshua, was going to grow up. All right. So, and as a root out of dry ground. He hath no form nor comeliness. When we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So it's not about his appeal. His, form would be, figure type thing. When we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. So there might be people who you would want around based on their beauty, and then there would be a reception based on that. And for Christ, there wasn't that. According to Isaiah, said there is no beauty that we should desire him. That hurts me because I think, oh man, I think of the things that the Son of God had to deal with when he was on the earth, and it hurts me, his death, and it hurts me his especially from the moments in Gethsemane, the Garden of Gethsemane, the way that he prayed, and he asked the Lord to take that cup from him, and he said, "Not my will, but thine be done." And then on the cross also, my God, why have you abandoned me? And so those things, they're difficult for me because it was the Son of God. And then when I think of that he had no form nor comeliness, when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. That makes me feel like, why do you have to go through that, you know? Why do you have to go through that? I don't want that for him, but that's exactly how the Lord set it up. That's how he set it up. And it was so humble, you know, a tender plant that he root out of dry ground. I don't know if you've done any gardening on dry ground, maybe in an area where the mulch, you know, has been sort of pushed aside, and then everything's dried out a bit. But I definitely have a visual and like an image in my hands. Even I know what that feels like, and it's not the same. It's not fertile in the same way that that protected ground is. And it's a smaller plant that grows there. It's a weaker and just small, and the roots not so deep. So anyways, just thinking about these different images, and it gets worse before it gets better, because Christ, his place on the throne right now it's not comparable, you know what I mean? Seated at the right hand of the Father God, but his experience on the earth, it wasn't exactly what you would think that it would be. It says he was just he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. It just, Isaiah prophesies the response that Israel would have. I guess that's like the heart and of what I don't want to say, even because of love. I don't want to say, oh, can you see that it was foretold, you know, the response, even that was planned. We were to despise him and reject him, and it bothers me. It says he is despised and rejected of man, a man of sorrows. It tears me up that he'd be a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid it, as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. So we didn't look up to him. In fact, have you ever despised someone? That was the feeling about him that he had to deal with. Oh, surely he had borne our griefs. And I think if you were wondering what the purpose was of that, you know, why would you be acquainted with sorrows? Why would you be connected to those griefs? And then it just opens it up right here. He says in Isaiah 53:4, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. So it was as if Christ was taking that place where he was bearing our griefs and our sorrows, all the pain that we would have to go through. And instead of perceiving the intention of God, which was to give it to that person, to give it to his son, the response to him was they thought God had stricken him and smitten of God and afflicted. They thought those things, those rejectable attributes were because God did that to him, that God was also rejecting him. Instead of God giving him what we deserve. So I think I'll stop there because of I feel like I'm supposed to, and it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger as the passage goes on in Isaiah 53. We did 1 through 4, so I'd like you to read it, but I want you to think about perception, and I hope that this passage can enlighten you, because it said, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. To remember how you view Christ. It was prophesied, that he would experience that kind of rejection, and then the experience of being despised. So it was foreknown that would happen. But really, those things were always yours. So, and really, those things always were they were the pain and the sorrow and the rejections of what was our lot. So, I hope that you can think about that. Think about it in a way that knows that God loved you enough to let the person that he loved the most take your place in that, and me too. And humbly go to God and say, God, I know that the things that, and the perception of Christ and all those things that were thought about him, that was my own. That the sorrow was my own, that the grief was my own, that the rejection was my own, but you let Christ bear that for me. And that you go to God with a loving heart and an open heart, and a heart that listens to him and his desire to pick what is good for you. And even in the tough things that they don't seem good for you, maybe you even feel like, if anything, you needing to suffer through something or wade through something difficult. Perhaps you feel that you've been stricken by God or smitten by God. And yet, perhaps the Lord is allowing you to be brought up and to be raised up in the likeness of Christ. And don't despise it and don't reject it, but receive the lessons and the things that it can do for your character. And remember that the Lord didn't spare his own son from those things either. All right, thank you.